Deep in a sun-dappled forest there was a village. It was a peaceful place. The animals lived together, they helped each other, they shared their food, they played games together. Life was good in the village. The animals were happy, the sun shone brightly, the air was fresh and clean. The animals were grateful for their home. Rabeh the Rabbit was very fast. He was known throughout the forest for his incredible speed. Every morning, he would wake up early and start his day with a sprint through the meadows, feeling the wind rush past his ears. His legs were strong and his heart was full of determination. He loved to hop and skip. The fields were his playground and he would spend hours exploring every nook and cranny. The soft grass beneath his feet and the open sky above made him feel free and alive. He would often chase butterflies and play hide-and-seek with the other animals. He would often race with the other rabbits. Rabeh always won. His friends admired his speed and agility, and they would cheer him on during every race. The races were not just about winning for Rabeh. They were about the joy of running and the thrill of competition. He loved the feeling of pushing himself to the limit and coming out on top. He was proud of his speed. It was his greatest asset and he took great care to maintain it. He would practice every day, running laps around the forest and doing exercises to keep his muscles strong. His confidence grew with each victory, and he began to believe that there was no one faster than him. One day Rabeh felt very confident. He had just won another race and was basking in the glory of his success. As he stood there panting and smiling, he thought about how far he had come. He remembered the days when he was just a small, timid rabbit, afraid to race against the bigger, stronger animals. But now, he was the fastest rabbit in the forest. He decided to challenge someone new. He wanted to test his limits and see if there was anyone who could match his speed. He looked around the forest, searching for a worthy opponent. He saw a fox, a deer, and even a squirrel, but none of them seemed like a good match. Then, he spotted a tortoise, slowly making its way through the grass. He wanted to race someone slower than him. He thought it would be an easy win and a chance to show off his speed. He approached the tortoise and said, "Hey, do you want to race?" The tortoise looked up at him, surprised, but then nodded slowly. "Sure," the tortoise said, "but don't underestimate me." He wanted to prove he was the fastest in the village. The race was set for the next day, and all the animals gathered to watch. Rabeh was confident and excited, ready to show everyone just how fast he was. As the race began, he shot off like a rocket, leaving the tortoise far behind. But as the race went on, Rabeh's overconfidence got the better of him. He stopped to rest, thinking he had plenty of time. Meanwhile, the tortoise kept moving steadily forward. In the end, it was the tortoise who crossed the finish line first, teaching Rabeh a valuable lesson about humility and perseverance. Soraya the Turtle was very quiet. She moved slowly. She was happy to take her time. She enjoyed the journey. She always finished what she started. Soraya was kind and patient. She never rushed into things. She was happy to let others go first. She believed in slow and steady progress. Rabeh found Soraya by the stream. "Soraya," he called out, "let's race!" Soraya looked up in surprise. "A race?" she asked. "Why would we race?" The other animals overheard Rabeh's challenge. They giggled and whispered. They knew Rabeh was very fast. They knew Soraya was very slow. They wondered why Rabeh would want to race her. Section 5. A Boastful Rabbit. "I want to prove I'm the fastest," Rabeh declared proudly. "Everyone knows turtles are slow. This will be an easy victory for me." Soraya listened patiently. She wasn't afraid of a challenge. She believed in herself. She knew that slow and steady wins the race. Section 6. The race begins. The other animals gathered around. They were excited to watch the race. They cheered for both Rabeh and Soraya. The race was about to begin. The owl hooted to start the race. Rabeh shot off like a flash. Soraya started slowly. She kept her pace. She was determined to do her best. Section 7. A steady pace. Rabeh sped through the forest. He was far ahead of Soraya. He felt very confident. He decided to take a nap. "I have plenty of time," he thought. Soraya continued to move forward. She didn't stop. She didn't rush. She kept her pace. She was determined to finish the race. Section 8. A Rude Awakening. The sun began to set, casting a golden hue over the cricket field. The air was filled with the distant cheers of the crowd and the occasional chirping of birds. Rabeh finally woke up from his unexpected nap in the dugout. He yawned deeply, stretching his arms wide as if trying to shake off the remnants of his sleep. The cool, evening breeze brushed against his face, bringing him back to the reality of the game. As he rubbed his eyes and adjusted to the dimming light, he looked around for Soraya, his teammate and closest competitor. The field seemed unusually quiet, and a sense of urgency began to creep into his mind. Where was she? He scanned the area, his eyes darting from one end of the field to the other, searching for any sign of her. Suddenly his gaze fixed on a figure in the distance. His heart skipped a beat. He couldn't believe his eyes. There, near the finish line, was Soraya, running with all her might. The realization hit him like a ton of bricks. How had he let this happen? How had he fallen so far behind? Panic surged through him as he watched Soraya inch closer and closer to the finish line. "How is this possible?" Rabeh exclaimed, his voice filled with disbelief and frustration. He had been so confident, so sure that victory was within his grasp. Now it seemed to be slipping away right before his eyes. Determination replaced his initial shock. He clenched his fists and set his jaw, a fire igniting within him. He had to catch up. He had to give it his all. There was no room for doubt or hesitation. He had trained too hard and come too far to let this opportunity slip away. As he started to sprint, memories of the earlier part of the game flashed through his mind. He had been so busy boasting to his teammates about his skills and past victories that he had forgotten the most important part of the game, to keep running. He had let his guard down, distracted by his own arrogance and overconfidence. Now, with every step he took, he pushed himself harder, his muscles burning and his lungs screaming for air. The finish line seemed so far away, yet so tantalizingly close. He could see Soraya's figure growing larger as he closed the gap between them. He had to focus, to channel all his energy and determination into this final stretch. His mind raced with thoughts of redemption and the desire to prove himself. He couldn't let this be the end. He had to show everyone, including himself, that he was capable of greatness. The crowd's cheers grew louder, fueling his resolve. He was getting closer, inch by inch, step by step. With one final burst of energy, Rabeh pushed himself to the limit, his legs pumping like pistons. He could see the finish line just ahead, and Soraya was almost there. In a last-ditch effort, he gave it everything he had, crossing the finish line just moments after her. He collapsed to the ground, gasping for breath, his body trembling with exhaustion. Despite the outcome, a sense of pride washed over him. He had given it his all, and that was what truly mattered. As he looked up, he saw Soraya extending a hand to help him up, a smile on her face. They had both fought hard, and in that moment, they were both winners in their own right. Section 9. The finish line. Rabeh hopped as fast as he could. His heart pounded in his chest, each beat echoing the urgency of his mission. The crowd's cheers were a distant roar in his ears, drowned out by the singular focus of his goal. He could see the finish line ahead, tantalizingly close, yet it felt like an eternity away. But it was too late. His legs felt like lead, each step heavier than the last. The energy that had fueled his initial burst of speed was waning, and he could feel the gap between him and the finish line widening. The realization hit him like a wave, washing over him with a mix of frustration and acceptance. Soraya crossed the finish line, her face lit up with a triumphant smile, her arms raised in victory. She had done it. The culmination of all her hard work, her dedication, and her unwavering spirit was now a reality. The finish line was not just a mark on the ground, it was a testament to her perseverance. She had won the race. The crowd erupted in applause, their cheers a symphony of celebration. Her teammates rushed to her, lifting her up in a joyous embrace. The victory was not just hers, it was a shared triumph, a moment of collective pride and joy. The other animals cheered loudly. Soraya felt happy. The support from the crowd, the smiles on their faces, and the warmth of their cheers filled her with a sense of fulfillment. She had not only won the race but had also inspired those around her. She had never given up. Through countless hours of training, through moments of doubt and fatigue, she had pushed forward. Her determination was unwavering, her focus unbreakable. Each practice session, each challenge she faced, had prepared her for this moment. She had kept going even when it was hard. There were times when the path seemed insurmountable, when the obstacles seemed too great, but she had faced them head-on, with courage and resilience. Her journey was a testament to the power of perseverance. She had proved that slow and steady wins the race. In a world that often values speed and immediate results, Soraya's victory was a reminder that true success comes from consistent effort and determination. Her story was an inspiration to all, a beacon of hope for those who dare to dream and work tirelessly to achieve their goals. Section 10, a valuable lesson. Rabeh felt ashamed. He had been arrogant and overconfident. He had learned a valuable lesson that day. He realized that it is important to be humble and to never give up. Rabeh approached Soraya. "Congratulations," he said sincerely. "You deserve to win. I was arrogant and I didn't take the race seriously." Section 11. Cooperation and Perseverance. The animals celebrated Soraya's victory. They had a feast together. They had learned that it is important to cooperate and to persevere. They realized that everyone has their own strengths. They learned that working together and supporting each other is important. The animals lived happily ever after in their peaceful village.